Luigi Mangione could face the death penalty. Prosecutors are being urged to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangione. US Attorney General Pam Bondi has issued a statement saying she has directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in this case. She added that the murder of Mr. Thompson, an innocent man and father of two young children, was a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. Miss Bondi said her intervention was part of President Donald Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. I mean, she said that because the shooting happened in a public place with bystanders nearby. And I just think a lot of what Bondi said there was very telling, right? If Luigi Mangione is killed by the state, there will be a grave injustice. That's not, endorsing his actions, right? We all know why he did it. And instead of the US addressing their inhumane healthcare system, they are going to kill a man. Kevin, I want to get your response to Bondi saying this is part of Trump's plan to make America safe. And part of the reason she claims in seeking the death penalty is because other people could have been put at risk.
Absolute nonsense. He literally wrote about the fact that he'd initially planned to plant a bomb in order to get his revenge on Mr. Thompson, and then decided that because of the potential loss of innocent life, he would have to go there himself and do the deed. So he literally took into account not putting extra innocent lives at risk. So this is it's just nonsense. And as always, it's just another example of the manufacturing of consent in regard to this particular case, because you'll notice, or you may have noticed, that during the initial phase of the story sort of breaking and being out there, the press covered this wall to wall. And obviously that won't continue, but you would expect with legal cases being filmed and stuff in America, it's much more sort of celebified, the kind of legal process, that story would have continued to be high profile. But they realised that actually he wasn't being hated in the way that they were trying to make him hated. They were trying to demonize this kid and make him into the biggest monster the world had ever seen. And actually, most people went, "Oh no, fuck the CEO guy. Yeah, the healthcare companies are evil. I don't care that this man died." Right? Which is not the response they wanted. So they just pulled the plug on that story. And now you only ever hear him brought up when it's bad news for him. That's it. Because anything else would potentially continue the lionization and the kind of heroization of this guy. It's ridiculous. They're trying to make an example of him. I juxtapose his story of the killing of one person who, again, as you pointed out, I think with the stress on the word innocent, is questionable as to his innocence. But
I found that quite funny that was part of the quote, that he was an innocent man.
Yeah.
I think some people could look at that and say, well, this is someone who... You can blame the system. The system is the problem, right?
Yeah.
But within that system, I think there are certain choices you can make as well. It's it's not big choices. It's not Brian Thompson can't make a choice and suddenly you've got nationalized healthcare. But you can say, well, maybe we're not going to introduce AI that assesses people's claims when 90% of it is not even correct. And actually loads of people died because initially they had their claims denied. That's a decision you could probably make that's on your own shoulders. So to say that he's a innocent man, I don't think he was.
No. Whether you kill people with a gun, a bomb, or a medical form doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Thompson was the murderer here. I juxtapose Luigi Mangione's story of the killing of one person with that of a guy called Patrick Crusius, who is a name that might not be familiar to many people. But in 2019, he went into a shopping mall in El Paso, Texas, having already printed a racist screed about the crime that he was planning to do. He then went and shot 23 people dead because of their race. He wanted to kill Latino people. This week, it was revealed yesterday, will not face the death penalty for the murder of 23 actually fully innocent people because of a plea deal that he's been allowed to have. So in the American government's mind, the killing of 23 people for racially motivated purposes is less bad than the killing of one billionaire. Again, as with the previous story, there's a government of the rich, by the rich, and for the rich. The billionaire's life is worth $1 million of ordinary people's.
And that one billionaire was, of course, a CEO of a healthcare company.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really shocking. I mean, I was going to bring up another story, which is harrowing, but far less harrowing in terms of number. and it's something we covered a while back, which is a man named Daniel Penny.
Yep.
Now, he killed Jordan Neely, a black homeless person. Jordan Neely was having mental health issues. He was aggressive and he was making people feel uncomfortable, right? But we documented that Penny went far beyond self-defense, far beyond just muting a threat. There's video evidence of people saying, "Get your knee off his neck." He used a very lethal way of incapacitating someone, which is putting your knee on someone's neck. You shouldn't really be doing that. But people are saying, I think you can let go of him, basically, or he's not breathing. He was given many chances to do so. Now, this person, Daniel Penny, was let off, and he was invited to meet Vice President J.D. Vance. Your story of 23 innocent black people being murdered on racially aggravated crime was let off by the state. Who the hell is buying the lie, though, that prosecutors want to seek the death penalty due to risking other people's safety? That's a load of rubbish. You also brought up that good point, that great point, by the way, which I actually forgot about, which is that he was going to use a bomb, and then he decided not to because it was going to hurt other people. Now, I'm not saying this makes him a saint, by the way. He was still planning on using a bomb. But obviously, when we have discussions of taking all the information into account when making decisions, you do take that into account.
Yeah.
Now, when it's a white person making a racial violent crime, my God, they'll throw all the information at you. They will try their best to get them off. It happens all of the time.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, when it's someone going after powerful people, I mean, this is, of course, about protecting profit.
Yeah, absolutely. This is to try and stop the proles from getting ideas above their station.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and Brian Thompson is someone who upholds the system.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you, though, in terms of Bondi, you're right. She's trying to weaponize this specific incident to try and push what she calls Trump's agenda, which is trying to bring back the death penalty nationwide. This is clearly, she wants to push the death penalty on Luigi Mangione because of the reason we've just laid out. I think that much is clear. But they won't stop there. They want to do death penalty nationwide. Yeah. And I also think, and I will posit, they would like to apply it to punishment on lesser crimes. Things that have never been considered for a death penalty before. I believe, it's my belief, that the Trump administration and those that work with him would like to see the death penalty applied to lesser crimes.
I think that's absolutely true. Firstly, I agree with you. I think they do want to introduce it nationwide, which rather puts paid to the idea that they're for states' rights. States' rights only applies when it comes to guns and racism, apparently. Forgetting, of course, that it's a legitimate legal jurisprudence argument and that you don't get to just enforce it as the national government. Unless, of course, you're planning to do a fascist takeover of states' rights, which I'm sure he would want to. And I'm sure he would like to apply it to lesser laws as well. The problem he's going to have is that he doesn't have a full takeover of the courts system at this point. Although they've certainly tried during his first term with implementing various awful judges in positions, and they're trying to do so now. They may very well have overcharged Luigi Mangione. I think they'll get a conviction. I can't see for a million years that they're going to get a death penalty sentence out of it. And if they try and push this, they'll end up probably releasing a murderer at some point because they'll have overcharged them and they can't get the conviction on that, on the basis that they have this idea in their head that should be okay, but the judges work in the real world. We've seen this with his cases of election fraud, that when the rubber hits the road, the judge asks them, "Where's your evidence for this?" And they don't have any. The fantasy world that they live in doesn't meet with the reality that you need to prove in a law court. And that's where they're going to come a cropper at some point, I imagine.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.